Hello, encouragers. I'm Rebecca Scott, wife, mother of 4, author, and owner and designer of Rebecca Scott Designs. I'm here to encourage you, to make you feel the I can do this spirit each and every day of our awesome journeys to fulfill those many important roles. I believe we are fully equipped to execute, and I will provide you with as much knowledge and practices and systems as I can to help you understand just what I know you can do. Execute. We got this. Encouragers, on today's podcast, I have a frequent guest, and I love the word frequent because it means I like them and I get to have them on several times. I have my friend Lauren Forsch on the podcast today to talk to us about how to perform your way to success. And several different thoughts came when we chatted yesterday in the studio about a project I have going for RSD, and I saw fire in her belly, and I was like, wait, that is a podcast title right there. And Lauren is the one that said it. So welcome, Lauren, to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk about this today because it is not just for individuals who are business owners, small business, large business owners, but yes, anyone really can bring this into their life, is performing their way to success.
Absolutely. And whatever the role is, whether it's employee or boss or mother or wife, you can perform your way into this. And I always give the listeners a little background. We are doing inventory, so you might hear some buckles being counted here in the background. And I still awesomely get to have Pixon, 5 years old, home with me. So there's a couple little horse and Barbie noises going on as well. Lauren has held so many different positions and roles for RSD, Rebecca Scott Designs, my purse and accessory business. She travels to the East Coast and to the South. We've traveled together. She also is my coach. So she thinks 50,000 feet above me. Not necessarily ahead of me, because good Lord, I need sprint shoes. I'm always thinking ahead of me, right? But she thinks above me and goes, wait, there might be a better way. Or Becca, have you thought about this? Or mostly it's me saying, hey guys, I want to do this. And Clint and Lauren say, all right, how could we break that down for you? Mm-hmm. So just so you know, that's how I am familiar with Lauren. We've become very good friends, and I could go on and on about Lauren. So, okay. And full disclosure, you guys, this is what happens. I just want you to know how flawed I am. We recorded a long pre-interview chat, which was supposed to be recorded, and it wasn't. So here we are. And Lauren is so gracious to let me keep recording here. I just want you to know I'm human too.
Absolutely. We're here. This is important. People need to know this. So I'm happy to stay.
And I love, okay, so we're chatting in the studio yesterday. I'm not sure how we pulled it together, Lauren, but you mentioned that we are giving too much credit to mindset and not enough credit to the amount of work we're doing. And that's just where you kind of just like fire and you're like, ugh, but too many women in all the roles that we are running, when we get to maybe 10 years in business or 15 years in business, not everybody, but some of us attribute it to, well, it was a positive mindset and getting up and just believing it could happen. And I have heard this a couple of times myself and went, oh, no, there's a lot of work involved. So tell us a little bit about why that drives you nuts.
Well, that's, it's true. That is kind of where our conversation stemmed, because I just said, Rebecca is one of my favorite clients because she's the queen of doing the daily actions to be successful. And I think when we were talking about this idea of performing your way to success, it is so much more than, and when you think of, when I say performance, I really do think about it in almost a theater type environment or setting, where even though you maybe don't feel the best today, or you're dragging, or you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, the show must go on. You have to put on the whatever kind of character or persona that you are trying to represent. And you have to be and embody that person in order to put on a great show and in order to move things forward. And so I think about how it's not just about the performance, but how much practice and how much action goes into making that possible. I know that there are, and this is where really the conversation was, is there's so many people with such a natural aptitude of being successful in different ways. Maybe they're a very talented speaker, or they can quickly and easily build connections with people that sometimes make their work easier. But in that, a lot of times they attribute their success to the mindset that they had rather than this natural aptitude and the continued daily actions that they did to get them to be where they are. And where we kind of were, the fire in the belly came is I have a hard time with this idea of manifestation. There's so many different trends and coaching and ways that people talk about mindset, but it's hard for me to consider that you could just think it, believe it, and it's true without all of the other thing, without all of the other stuff that helps get you there. And so yes, this is something that I am very passionate about and talk a lot about with our clients, because we want them to have the daily actions in place that will make sure that they are successful. But you're right, it's still so much about how what people think about themselves and their goals and the mindset of being successful. So it's twofold for us.
It's twofold. You do need to have both. And I had an analogy that I thought of. I was at a farm meeting for Nick out in the Black Hills. It's here in South Dakota. And the gal said, I was asking the guy, hey, how was your summer? He sells big, huge combines and implement equipment. You know what I'm trying to say. And I said, well, how was the summer? Do you like your new job and everything? He goes, man, it's a job. And every time someone says that, I gulp hard because I'm like, oh, you have a choice. And the gal who leads the group, who is the main consultant and coach, goes, well, Rebecca, not everybody gets to do what they love. And I could have shot daggers at her in the moment, to be honest. I wasn't very full of grace, but I was like, are you yes, you can. It's a choice. But I also thought she was kind of, to me, it felt like, and I'm sure she didn't mean it like this. This is all in my own head, you guys. These are all my own thoughts. I thought, wait a minute. If you think that I just dreamed this up with a positive mindset of here's what I want to do and here's how I want to encourage people, you are kidding yourself. I pulled 4 a.m. mornings. I pulled midnight pulling in the yard and waking up at 5 to get kids on the bus. Wait a minute. I worked really hard to do what I love. And so that is similar to the fire in the belly. I was like, wait, yeah, you can choose what you love to do, but it's going to require a lot of work.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put that, because I think you're right. Maybe manifestation almost downplays the sacrifice.
Yes.
And is almost disrespectful to the amount of hard work that is put into what it took to get there.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And I have a hard time with the word anyway, because I think it's deviated from its origin. But I think that is what we're talking about today. It is not just about having a positive attitude. It's the attitudes and where your attitudes and actions meet.
100%.
So absolutely.
It's also why we go, especially here in the podcast, my form of coaching is talking so much about the practical things about it. Because while I love mindset, and I talk a lot about the words that you are using to yourself and with your family and with your teams, they need to be positive and reinforcing and encouraging. You also just have to do the work. So a lot of my podcasts are on how I did the work, just the practical steps to get to success. It doesn't just fall in your lap, and you can't just manifest and attract it. You also have to do the practical steps. And interesting, in our pre-interview, we talked about this concept of a goal. So if you take a goal and you say, and I'm just going to, any kind of goal, 150,000 is what I want to make next year. And you put it on a sticky note and you put it in your planner, and you're going to move the sticky note from day to day. Talk to us about how it would be better to utilize that sticky note, Lauren.
Yeah, I love this idea or concept, because I think a lot of people can relate to having financial goals, because that financial goal is also in their mind attributed to what kind of person or how do I want my home life to look with this
Yes.
goal? Do I want to have, what does my self-care routine look like at this level? So
Yes.
there's a lot more that I think goes into that type of goal
Sure.
than just a dollar amount.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of weight and emotion to that. So if you have this goal and you have this attitude that you're going to reach this goal, it's so important that you also can move that sticky note from day to day
Yes.
and say, these are the actions I'm going to take today that
Mhm.
lead me to being successful, or that lead me to reach this goal. So
Yes.
maybe that if your goal is 150,000, maybe you're going to make 15 sales calls and you're going to do 10 follow-up emails every day.
Mhm.
And what you can do with that sticky note though is, the days that you just do not want to do the work, that you're
Right.
somewhere else, you are concentrating on something else,
Mhm.
you're not emotionally there, you can either extend yourself some grace and say, okay, we're going to move this sticky note tomorrow. Today's my goal is not this goal, it's just to make it to the end of the day.
Okay.
Or you can tell yourself, like, this is why I'm doing this. These
Yes.
are, I'm going to step my attitude. My attitude is not where it needs to be to meet my actions. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to suck it up and
Sure.
I'm going to maybe take the most low hanging fruit, the people to reach out to that take the least amount of energy today, but to still make sure I'm meeting those daily actions. And it's that consistency that will help make sure that you're not overwhelmed, that
Yeah.
if you have a year goal, you make it to the last quarter, or you have a 12-week goal and you make it to the last 3 weeks, and you realize you haven't done anything to prepare yourself to achieve that
Yeah.
goal.
I love that. I love that reasoning, Lauren, because that's what we talk about so much is you got to have grace. We'd be in complete denial if we thought that every day we could show up and kill it. It's just not going to happen, especially when we are running families. And I'm a big deal of your priority list. Don't let all of it just go to the pooper because, you know, I go on and on why it's important to stay with the consistency, but also use grace with yourself. Like she said, well, okay, so you can't make the 10 sales call, make one sales call to remind yourself that you have a goal and you are going to get it. Hello, encouragers. If you are feeling encouraged, if you love the coaching that you're receiving from Lauren and myself, and you just love how you walk away feeling like, gosh, I really think I could meet my goals, and you want a little bit more meat to it, please join us on our Facebook member page. It's only $30 a month. And it's the perfect financial decision and time decision for you to really accomplish your goals and to work on all of your systems. We talk about how to take care of yourself. That's your me system. Today, we're talking about your work system. We work all of that out on the member page so that you can financially and time-wise really create margin to get to your goals. Join us over on the member page. Let's chat a little bit too about the consistency. And can you give us some examples in your clients and in your own coaching, Lauren, of how consistency super mattered?
Yeah, I actually love using you, Becca, as an example of
Oh,
consistency, because one of my favorite things about Rebecca, I think maybe a few years we came to her and said, we really think you should start doing Facebook Live more consistently, Facebook Live videos. And there's no other form of writing a post on social media or sending an email that can convey the same excitement and energy that you have about your products. So, of course, in true Becca fashion, she makes 4 videos a week instead of
overachiever.
1 video a week. But you started being consistent. I think you do 1 or 2 days a week that you go live, and then you do live shopping. And so that consistency has been built into your business. And because and this is where I think a lot of people maybe miss the mark on some of this, is actually being able to look back, reflect, and track some of the impact that
Yeah.
the consistency has had. That's, I think, where some of the misattributing the success to attitude as far rather than work is
Yes.
is not looking at, okay, we do this many posts and this many emails and make this many connections in our community.
Mhm.
And this is the results we've seen because of that. So I know that your team has seen a huge increase in engagement or the number of people watching the videos, how long they're watching the videos. And so your team is able to say our hard work is paying off, our consistency is paying off. Now, you could have easily said, well, one of my goals was to make sure my engagement on my website and on my social media was 150% by the end of the quarter.
Mhm.
And you could have patted yourself on the back and said it was because of your positive attitude that happened. But you're discrediting the work that your team has put into making that happen. So
Absolutely.
um,
It's so much about the sweat equity of what we do. I mean, yes, the mindset matters, you guys, but the sweat equity. And if I could break it down for you guys one more step, just so you understand, in Lauren's example with the videos, they say, you know what, I think you'd be really well received if you recorded some more videos. Let's get this energy out. Okay. Nerve wracking, right? This is before Facebook Lives were a thing. So
yeah,
I timed it because I knew myself, which you need to know how yourself is. I thought, okay, if I've got this goal and I'm required to do it by myself, but my coaches are telling me to do it, it's like I have to do this because I'm an overachiever and they just gave me like a rule, so to say. But I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So when Nicole would come and ship, we would record 8 to 10 videos. I would make her record them while I talked about whatever, because it was an accountability partner to help me hold me accountable to recording those videos. So I started with that. And oh my gosh, they're so embarrassing to watch now. Oh gosh. So anyways, I would do that every Thursday. I would record my 8 to 10 videos so that I could check mark that I had met my coach's approval of what they said. Well, then it started taking off. Then it became more frequent for me. And it didn't take off because they were amazing by any means, because you should rewatch them and we'll all laugh together. It was they were consistent. So I was like, oh wait, I think she did this and I enjoyed what she had to say. And then they watched another one and they watched another one. And then it started just being me and I was in selfie mode. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do not just videos, but I'm going to do lives. And the more consistent I got, the more customers could trust me and trust my product and trust what I was charging because of consistency. But I did have to build in accountability in there. So know yourself. And if that's something that you need to do, whether you need to have a coach, you just need to have accountability. But be consistent about it and tell somebody, what is the consistency going to look like?
I'll tell you one more story about a client, but before I do, I want to uh, push back and expand on what you just mentioned, because
Okay.
I think not only was it very self-aware of you to realize that you needed that accountability partner at first, but if you're someone who is throwing up thinking about the idea of posting anything consistently right now, like
True.
I can't even remember to take my daily vitamin, let alone post something on Facebook Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You may be someone who is not, you may be someone who likes the new, you like to create your product, you like to constantly be, or you're energized by what the next thing is. You may not be a sustainer. And let me tell you a little bit more about this idea of a sustainer. There are people who the new, the ever changing makes them uncomfortable. So those are some of the people that are great to partner with or pair with, whether it's someone on your team who could step into that role, or it's someone who maybe you could bring on as an independent contractor or a friend who's helping you for a while. That is something that we have to know when something is not our skill set and find the people to help fill that void. And this is something I know that we've talked about. Becca, I would by no means ever call you a sustainer, but there were times in your business where you spent lots of time putting in the work and doing things consistently to make sure that it ran. And then at the point where your business could handle those additional people to help or to hire out those pieces. Your expertise and your brilliance in your area, we've been able to kind of maximize and capitalize because you're not worrying about those things that are not your expertise and don't fill you up. They don't fill your cup. So I think that you have a wonderful team. You've built a wonderful team around you of people that can also be those sustainers to make sure the consistency is there.
And what's interesting is the moments when I've been a sustainer is because that is a piece of my super skill, which I talk frequently in my master course and podcast is mass producing. So the things that I sustained was keep making the straps or keep surging and stuff. So that's actually partly why it allowed me to sustain, but don't kid yourself. Every time I'm mass producing, I have a notebook right next to me and it's all of my big ideas. Cause that's, I think this phrase is used frequently with my husband and I like to say I'm unpredictable. And he's like, honey, you're so unpredictable. You're predictable. Like, he's like, good try.
I always say that I have to build in, if I'm on vacation, I have to organize fun. Like I have to build in spontaneity.
I know, we do. We do.
No, I love it. So I was going to tell you this quick other example of another client who they send a weekly email and are great at being consistent with that, but they didn't even realize the impact until there were a few months during the summer where things were really busy. And so there was a week with email, week without email, week with email, week without email. And they realized that their sales had decreased for that month. And it's funny when we are in our businesses and it's a daily, we're constantly thinking about it, but there's daily actions all the time. We don't necessarily realize, or it's hard for us to realize that people aren't thinking about our business like we are on a daily basis. We're not, unless we're in front of them and reminding them that we're here. They have their own things to worry about. So he realized even his existing customers that knew about him, that he still needed to reach out and give that weekly reminder. And they were almost expecting that too. So if they weren't reminded, then they weren't buying on the website.
Right.
So it's a great example of how that consistency can be so important in the work that you're doing.
Yep. And that's the piece of the performing his way, like just the practical email. And email is pretty practical. Fill out your email, send it consistently, do the work, and set your goals. So it's lining those two up, is setting your goals high, having the mindset that they are achievable, and then doing the practical things of chunking it down. How can I achieve this? And, we talked a little bit before this, and I want to talk a little bit more in depth about this. Is I'm a big proponent of setting your goals at 12 weeks instead of 1 year, because like Lauren said, by February, we're still rocking it. And then by March, we're like, I'm just let up just a little bit. And then by October, we're like, wait, what? Oh, I got to really charge. So it's much easier to experience those ebbs and flows in 12 weeks than it is 12 months. So I highly encourage you, when you set your goal, when you have that little sticky note moving from page to page on your planner, make it a shorter length. I love the word, and I got this from Clinton, Lauren. They use the word phases a lot. Here's phase 1, 2, and 3. Attract somebody, just hire somebody that's amazing with spreadsheets. Those are amazing tracker people, because the spreadsheets are such a good visual for goals and progress. And what do I want to say? Goals and progress, but it allows you to check it off still. And that's the nitty gritty grind. I didn't get to this place by just being positive and fun on Facebook and sticking my head in the zipper drawer and having a good time. I did a lot of the grind as well. And I don't ever want to underestimate that, because that is part of why I am here.
I think the two things, I love that. I think that goal setting on a shorter level is so wonderful. Such a great tip, because there is the mental and emotional energy of, you never want to get to quarter 3 and realize how much you haven't done. There's so much too much opportunity for self-doubt and judgment and all of the negativity to creep in, that's not helpful, and it's not going to help you move forward. So,
and I always think too, you may still have that crummy, but at least in 12 weeks, it'll be 2 days instead of a month. It'll be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get back on it. Because those things just sometimes they just naturally happen within there, but you also learn how to bounce back quicker, because you're like, well, I did that. My last goal was like that too. And I managed it.
Exactly. No, I love that. I think that there's, we would never expect a world-class musician, even if they had an amazing aptitude for music, to they would never be on the stage and you would say, oh, it's because they knew that they were going to be here and they've wanted this all their life. You would say they've worked their ass off. They have worked so hard and practiced and put in so many hours. They deserve to be here, and oftentimes their mindset matches their actions.
Right. What's kind of that overnight success? Not really. You didn't know the 10 to 15 years before this where I was just working it. Okay, so one more thing, encouragers. When you are wanting to wear the leggings and the hoodie on the Friday, I get it. I so get it. But what if you treated that Friday, like our podcast title here, Performing Your Way to Success, and you put on the slacks and the blazer and you did your hair and makeup and you recorded videos as if it was Monday and you were taking off? What if you just changed? That's a mindset thing. So you change the way you're going to dress that day. But the practical part of it is you're like, okay, and then I'm going to record 7 videos because I got to reach this amount of engagement, and that's what it's going to do. So that's lining the two of them up. As your mindset changed, you decided to change your clothes, look the part, and then your practical part of it lined up as well. And here's the grit. Here's what I got to do to get there. So you gotta line them up together. Lauren, how can you encourage us? One more thing.
I cannot stress enough. I know we touched on it earlier, but I cannot stress enough how important grace is in this process, because you will always have those days where even one sales phone call seems unbearable. And just being able to give yourself that space and realize how important that day is for you too, to reach your goals. If you consider it a day of reset and a day of health and healing, that is, giving you the energy to get to that next day. I think, changing your internal dialogue about what that means to help get you there.
Thank you, Lauren, so much. It is a privilege to have you on the podcast. Can't wait for you to be another frequent visitor on next season. Until next time, encouragers, we got this. I know how you can start executing on all the things that God has equipped you to do. You can pick up my book at theencouragerpodcast.com and check out the store complete with book, journal, and the master course. Also, make sure to check out the resources tab where you'll get a hold of all the PDFs from the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, encouragers. Remember to subscribe so it's automatically on your phone. And please rate and review me. We got this, encouragers.